everybody. My dad thinks his podcast is amazing, so please subscribe, give it 5 stars or whatever, and maybe he'll finally stop talking about it. Anyways, welcome to Sobriety.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the show. This week we have another special guest, but before we get to that, I just want to remind everybody, please make sure whatever platform you're on or listening to us, whether it be Apple, Spotify, or YouTube, coming soon to a couple new platforms, make sure that you're rating, reviewing, subscribing, and definitely share. Always
Share, all of the things, interact. Something I'm going to start adding at the beginning of this podcast is just a small trigger warning. We do talk a lot about addiction, substance abuse. Some people bring up subjects behind self-harm, sexual assault, mental health, pretty much anything that you can think of, because we want this to be an open and safe platform for everyone to discuss what they need to discuss. Obviously within reason. But I realized I probably should be adding a trigger warning in the beginning. So there are a lot of sensitive subjects. We have a lot of resources. Feel free to reach out to us if you are feeling triggered or if you're having any struggles or issues. We are a safe space for everybody. You can reach out anonymously or you can reach out directly, whatever your comfortability is.
Perfect.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Who we got today?
Today we have a friend of ours who we've met and spent some time with. She just had a big move actually across the good old U.S. and we're going to bring her on and talk about her journey to sobriety. So let's welcome in my good friend Cat Carrel.
Hey,
Cat, how are you?
I'm doing well, thank you. I want to add a trigger warning.
Yes.
Actually, that you didn't mention, and that is I may bring up band camp. So I just wanted to put that out there.
Thank you. Thank you for that.
Yes, we'll make sure we put that at the bottom there.
Yes, it's a sensitive subject.
It is.
So
sometimes.
how's the weather difference?
Between Spokane and Dallas, big. It's big. Although Dallas has had more snow this year than Spokane.
Really?
Yes, we've had almost zero snow here this year. It's really depressing. But it's sunny today, which is, I'm happy.
Yeah.
It's sunny.
What is the actual temperature there?
It is 22.
Oh wow.
It's a little warm.
But sunny, so it's nice. What'd you say?
I said a little warm.
Well, yeah, it's balmy. It's a balmy 22.
Wow. Well, Kat, I wanted to get right in and talk about your journey to sobriety. So what was, I guess, your moment or your realization that kind of made you say, this is enough. It's not for me anymore. Alcohol, that is.
Yeah. Well, I didn't have a rock bottom like some people do. I didn't have a court order or a DUI or an accident or, a breakup or anything like that. I just decided before my 60th birthday, was it my 60th birthday? No, it was after my 60th birthday, that I just didn't want to go through, the last, third, hopefully, of my life, living this kind of dichotomy. So I was healthy. I was into organic food. I had been publishing a natural health magazine, and but at the same time I was drinking a bottle of wine every night or more. I think, like a lot of people, COVID really exacerbated my drinking. I had a home business at the time, and so, I think, like most people, I was working from home, and, I was kind of originally a 5 o'clock drinker. So 5 o'clock would roll around, I would open my bottle, and then I would start, I would have kind of a slow roll all night. I would just nurse that bottle all night long. And if I had more than a bottle, sometimes I would open another bottle, but most of the time I just would drink that one. But during COVID, during the lockdown, you know, like a lot of people, I discovered home delivery of alcohol, and you know, would have a case of wine delivered to my house, and you know, the 5 o'clock became, you know, 5 o'clock somewhere, and I would just, it just got earlier and earlier until I was, you know, probably starting at, you know, 2 or 3 in the afternoon, which is early for me. You know, I'm a late starter, uh, late ender. You know, some people start early and end early, or start early and end late, but I was kind of a late starter. So after COVID, or during COVID, I started visiting my mom. By this time, before COVID, I had moved from Spokane to Austin, and my parents and the rest of my family lived in the Dallas Fort Worth area. So I started going up to help my mom with her, I don't know, you know, getting through the pandemic, because she, you know, was in her 80s, and, you know, she wore her mask down here, and she was going to Walmart every day. And I was like, Mom, at least, you know, like, make a list and go to Walmart, you know, once a week or something, but not every freaking day. But, you know, she had to get her smokes and her, you know, her milk and whatnot. And so I started coming up to help her, and I quickly realized that she just wasn't lifing very well. And so I made the decision to move up there and basically live with her, and be her caregiver. I mean, she thought I was just visiting. Of course, she had dementia. And so, you know, I would say things like, well, Mom, how long have I been here? And she'd be like, oh, a couple weeks. And I'd be like, nope, I've been here a year.
Mm-hmm.
But, so I still was drinking, you know, quite a bit, and, also doing, you know, cannabis gummies. I had someone I would order them from, you know, who lived in like Wisconsin or something like that. I don't know. And so I was doing double duty there with the wine and the gummies. And what it took was my whole family catching COVID, basically. I caught it from my dad or stepmom, I'm not sure, brought it home to my mom. And then, you know, she ended up, he went into the hospital and didn't come out. He was one of those, you know, hard, bad deaths. You know, so many people died in the hospital without their family around them. And that was in November 2020. And then my mom went into the hospital in December. And, you know, I took her to the ER. Didn't think I'd ever see her again. I mean, if anything was my rock bottom, that was the day that I had to drop my mom off and walk away, you know, from the hospital, because I had already, you know, lost my dad. And so, then she actually got better in the hospital. She didn't die, but she was released on home hospice. So when she came home to home hospice, I didn't drink. I was just like, you know, I have to be, you know, I need to be aware of what's happening. And so my sister and I took care of her, nursed her back to health. Basically, she graduated out of hospice. And once she was out of hospice, I was like, oh, well, I can just start drinking again, right? So it kind of just went on like that for another few years. And on December 30, or in December of 2022, actually in October of 2022, I took a trip to visit a friend, and she and I had a history of being drinking buddies. And, you know, we had at different times over our friendship been sober together and separately, and then drinking again. And so when I went out there to visit her, we were both drinking again, and it was just a very boozy weekend. It was very boozy, and it was, you know, just like it had been 15 years ago when we were together, you know. And then in November, I went to visit a friend, and hadn't had anything to eat, and pretty much drank a whole bottle of wine in 2 hours, and then I drove home. And I don't remember driving home. I blacked out, and um, and that was kind of a real wake up call for me. Was like, because I was not a blackout drinker. I had one other blackout in my life, and that was when I was in college. And so I just felt like, I just kind of had kind of a come to Jesus talk with myself, and decided that, if I was going to do something, I needed to do it, and not just do dry January, because I was a, dry January alumni from, every year pretty much. And then February 1st would come along and it'd be like, sweet,
Yeah.
So I don't know when I found Reframe on my phone. It says October of 22 is when I downloaded it. But I didn't ever sign up. But when I guess it was January 1st, that next morning after New Year's Eve, I did. I signed up, and that New Year's Eve, I knew that was going to be my last night because I planned it. This is kind of how I do things. I'm like, I'm going to have my last hurrah, And so my last hurrah was buying a expensive bottle of champagne and drinking it by myself. I didn't even go out and party or anything. I just drank it myself. And then, stumbled up to bed and went to bed. Probably had a horrible night's sleep. And then the next morning I started, and that's when I started doing Reframe every day, and I've done it every day since. So I think I'm on 754 days alcohol free.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, first of all, I'm really sorry for your loss of your dad.
Yeah.
Losing a parent is horrible in any circumstance.
Yeah.
But in that one in particular, just,
Not being able to say goodbye.
Right.
And, it was very traumatic. And my mom has since passed as well.
I'm
And
so sorry.
well, she was 90. So it was, and my sister and I gave her 4 more years, when we nursed her back to health out of hospice. So
That's great.
it was okay, and she had lost her mind by then. And so it was okay. But I have to say that that last year of her life was my first year alcohol free.
So she got to see you sober. That was going to be my next question.
She didn't realize, she didn't know,
Right.
What I was doing. She never really realized how much I drank, or that I was, doing the
But I'm sure that mattered for you, though, to be able to be present, like in that moment, in those moments. I'm sure, I'm sure you are very, very, very grateful for that.
Yeah. Oh, it was the greatest gift that I could have given myself and her, is to be fully present and sober during that last year of her life. I mean, it was really, the way, because there's a lot of stuff that happens, when you're taking care of an elderly loved one, and you just got to roll with it, like every day is a new normal. And so my sister, by this time we had moved my mom into my sister's home. And she and I were always on the same page. I have to say, I was really lucky in this regard, because also a lot of people just do not, siblings don't agree on how their parents should be taken care of. And so we were completely on the same page, and I would come out there 3 times a week to help her, give her some, kind of some time off from taking care of my mom, as she did for me when I was living with my mom. And, but, like one day it could be, one thing, and then the next day, like, she can't go to the bathroom by herself, or she doesn't know what to do, and my sister would just freak out, and I'd be like, that is the new normal. If that's how it is today, it's going to be that way tomorrow. She's not going to change. So you might as well just roll with it. And so I think my ability to kind of, just accept what was and what was happening as it happened was really helpful, not just to me, but to my sister and our mom, because we weren't going off on her, like, what do you mean you don't know what to do now? You wipe your ass.
Yeah,
It's
that's
like,
right.
it's like,
Yeah, it's like telling a 1-year-old that. It's
yeah,
like, why are you
exactly.
yelling at me?
No,
Yeah.
it's yeah, for sure, for sure.
Hmm.
Yeah, so it was a really uh, a, a gift to be present like that the last year. And
Yeah.
I was with her when she passed, and it wasn't, it was very peaceful, and it was um, it was a peaceful transition for her. And for me, I think it was really important for me to be able to be there, because I wasn't for my dad. So,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
yeah.
horrible. And being there, even when you have a loved one who is elderly, and I don't know how much validity there is behind what I'm about to say, but you know, some doctors, scientists, researchers believe that there are moments of pure lucidity right before death because your body accepts it on
Mhm.
an atomic level.
Yeah. Right.
um so my mom passed last year and I was with her until she passed, and it was peaceful. And long story short, um when she could no longer respond, I could still feel her squeezing my hand. And that
Mhm.
could have just
Mhm.
been like involuntary
Mhm.
muscle movements, but
Yeah.
something inside of
Maybe
me
not. Yeah.
said, as I'm talking to her, she's responding. And I like to think, whether it's true or not, that she, in those moments, that was the most lucid and clear, and she knew and accepted exactly what was happening.
Mhm.
And it was very, I like that you say a peaceful transfer. Like,
Yeah.
I am very big on, regardless of who you are as a human being or how you lived your life, everyone deserves peace and solidarity in death. Like,
Mhm.
it's a
Yeah.
very, very sacred thing. And
Absolutely.
not to keep bringing it up, but that is what made it so hard during COVID, right?
Yeah.
Is that it disrupts this natural order of the way that people are allowed to pass peacefully and with dignity.
Yeah.
um I remember when my grandmother passed, and she was elderly too, and she had COPD and emphysema. She was born in 1919, so typical, like, smoked all the time, drank
Mhm.
all the time, all this
Mhm.
stuff, and she was an amazing woman. But as I got older, my mom would tell me, like, I quit praying for her to get better, and I just prayed for her pain to end.
Yeah.
Because as they get older, you're so right. Like, it is the new normal, and who are you going to be mad at? Just
Mhm. Right.
the natural order of things,
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
and it
No,
can be
you can't be
difficult.
mad. I
But
mean,
that's
it's frustrating. Yeah.
it is frustrating, but that is a really, I mean, that's a beautiful story. You don't have a rock bottom, but I definitely could hear specific moments in
Mhm.
there that
Yeah.
led you to the path of compassion and, accountability and things
Mhm.
like that. And
Mhm.
there is something that our own mortality and, life is really sort of amped up when our parents pass. And
Yeah.
so,
Yeah.
though I don't struggle with alcohol, when the people I loved and cared about got sober, I didn't want to drink anymore or be cloudy, because you lose those moments and you don't
Mhm.
know if you have a year or 20 years. And I'm like,
Mhm.
I'm not losing any more
Yeah.
moments. I'm taking them all
Yeah.
back. They're mine. I'm not losing
Yeah.
them.
Exactly.
So that
Exactly.
story, I mean, I'm so sorry for all the tragedy, but what a beautiful story. And your
Yeah.
self-awareness and the way that you tell that story really was
Yeah.
moving and touching. Thank you for sharing that with us.
Oh, well, it's just it's part of my reality. And I think you know a lot of my fellow reframers, they have heard me talk about radical acceptance quite a bit. I preach that a lot. And acceptance is one thing, like accepting that you didn't get the job, or accepting that maybe your childhood wasn't as great as you wished it was,
Right.
and that kind of thing. And forgiveness is kind of the same um, thing, or on the same plane. But radical acceptance is, um, according to Tara Brach, who's one of my favorite meditation gurus. She says about radical acceptance that it's acceptance not only of the moment, but and what is, because you can always just say it is what it is, and it is what it is because this is the moment that we're in. But accepting or embracing discomfort is huge, and it's huge for those of us who are on a recovery journey, that we learn to embrace discomfort, because man, it is uncomfortable. When you stop drinking, those first few, probably for me, the whole first year was just uncomfortable in that regard. It's just and it's funny to watch what's uncomfortable through the months, because it changes. For me, the first 8 months, I never had a pink cloud. I never had this like onslaught of emotion like a lot of people have. They post about how emotional they are and stuff. I had nothing. I had no emotion. I had anhedonia, which is really a lack of any emotion. And it was my therapist that brought it up even before I quit drinking, because I had just gone through this whole COVID experience with my parents, and I just felt like a fucking zombie, like I was. Here's my cat.
That is completely fine. Oh, what a great
Steve.
interruption. I'm so sorry, but I'm melting. For anybody listening, Cat has the most adorable little kitten in the world, and I want to reach through the screen and take him.
Steve. His name was Ken. His adopted name was Ken, and then I changed it to Steve because I'm not.
I like Steve better.
He's just jealous. He's like, "What in the world?
What are you doing?
Get off that thing and pay attention to me." Sorry,
Steps
go ahead.
Okay. So my therapist brought up anhedonia, and I looked it up, and I was like, yeah, that's me. And it's really hard to treat, actually, with, it's not your typical type of depression that reacts to serotonin and, or some of those antidepressants. So it took me about 8 months before I really started to feel like, not that I was me again, because I didn't really even know who I was, like a lot of us feel.
Yeah.
But I think I recalled, like one day I woke up and I was doing something and I was whistling. I was like, wait a minute, what is that? Like, why am I whistling? Am I happy? Am I feeling something? So, so it took a long time to get through all of that. And because I was just like, man, when is my pink cloud going to get here? When am I going to feel good? Because I just didn't feel good for a long time. So that was definitely hard to get through. And I apologize if you hear my cat playing with a ball.
Okay.
I love it. I love it.
We have one that beats on the door trying to get in here when we're doing podcasts, so it's not a big deal.
Literally, like at night, it sounds like she comes all the way, because our bedroom's right off our kitchen and living room. It'll sound like she goes all the way to the other end of the house and runs as fast as she can, just slams into the door.
Yeah.
And the only reason we don't let her in is because she's a nervous peer. And so I just don't want to have to buy another mattress. So that's the only reason.
Nervous peer. Yeah. Haven't we all experienced that too?
She's literally on Prozac. When I took her to the vet and they were like, I think we should try a low dose Prozac. I was like, yeah, that sounds about right for this household. Of course. Why not? Why not?
Yeah. We're all on low dose Prozac here. So
right. Who doesn't do that?
Yeah, exactly.
That's too funny.
Well, Kat, one thing I've learned about you as I've known you over almost the past couple of years now, you're really big on connection. Getting people together like you did, like in the Dallas area and stuff like that.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I kind of wanted you to touch on that and let us know how connections played. Obviously, it seems like it's played a big part in your sobriety, but how it's played a part into where you're at today, and also what you're doing today while you're up in Washington, because I know you've talked about doing a few things up there as well.
Yeah, I originally heard Coach Tina say that connection is the secret sauce. of staying sober. And I really, I believe that. I do believe it is the secret sauce. Because, and also Gabor Mate says that the opposite of addiction is connection, not being free of addiction. So, when I was in Dallas, well, I've always kind of been a community builder. I've done a lot of community activism. I've helped to found a community center, an LGBT community center in Montana that's still there 30 years later. And so I've always kind of been, kind of a community builder. And in Dallas, we, a friend and I, or another, reframer, we just, when people would sign into meetings and they would say they were in Dallas, we would be like, oh yeah, where, hey, you need to join our group, kind of thing. And pretty soon we had a pretty big group of people in Dallas, 40 or 50 people. And so we'd do meetups and have dinner or, just stuff, usually involved food. One time we did goat yoga, and so that was fun. And I've made some, lifelong friends that way. And yeah, I think in-person meetups are just really amazing. It was amazing to meet y'all in Dallas when you were in Dallas. And so it's, I think it really is important to have those connections, because not everybody knows what it's like. Not everybody knows what it's like to go through this. And when you have people that you can talk to about it who get it, I think that's a game changer. In fact, 15 years ago, I had a sober stint of 4.5 years here in Spokane, and I didn't have a sober community. I didn't do any work. I wasn't working a program. I wasn't, doing any like self-actualization or awareness building, types of things. And, I basically white knuckled it through 4.5 years. And it came down to one New Year's Eve, and my cat is attacking my foot. One New Year's Eve, somebody handed me a glass of champagne, and I was like, all right. And I drank it. And within a month, it was game over.
Yeah.
And it took me 15 years to get back.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So I think it is, connection is the secret sauce. And, that using that phrase kind of may trivialize it a little bit, but it actually is just so profound to meet people in person that you have been interacting with, online, seeing in Zoom meetings, and you forge these friendships. And then when you meet each other in person, it's really profound. So.
Yeah, I 100% agree with that, in or out of even a sober community, because we're so attached to phones and Zoom, like you said. I mean, even before COVID, but then COVID definitely took it to a whole different level, which, like anything else, it's a dual sort of, so a thing. I'm looking for a word here that I can't find, but it's great that you can connect with people from all over the world without having to meet up with them in person. But I agree with you. There's just something that you can feel about people's energy and the vibe they get off in their body language. And I mean, it's so much more intimate that you miss, and when we met up with y'all in Dallas, my brother lives in Dallas. And so we were going to go have dinner. I was like, oh yeah, it'll be fun. I can't wait. And I really was prepared to kind of take a back seat. And I'm just here as a supporting character. And even for me, even though I'm not part of that real community and I hadn't met y'all, it was just so incredible to just see everyone interacting like you'd known each other forever and telling your stories and sort of helping each other. We did the same thing the last time we went to Dallas, except it was with my brother's sober friends. And we were talking to them, and, you know, we had never met them before, and they're like chatting it up and we're having a laugh. And it's just like, I don't know, it's when you are so, you know, emotionally just naked in front of each other, and it is a pure acceptance and realness, which you just don't find anywhere in the world.
Yeah.
Then it's completely different, because most of the people you interact with on a daily basis, unless they're in your circle, they're getting varying versions of you, and that's
just a percentage, I think.
Well,
For sure.
but
A lot of it's bullshit.
it's not even a percentage. It's
like Facebook.
It's 100% of that derivative of
Right.
you. So,
Right.
you know, there's a lot of research that shows that having varying relationships, whether it be acquaintances, you know, mom friends, family, you know, just somebody who you see at the grocery store who works there that you interact with, all of those relationships are important and play like an integral part in your mental health and viability.
Yeah.
However, there is something innately just raw about having a community that, and we say, you know, show up has been the thing with my mental health the whole time, that you can literally just show up. There's no expectation to perform.
Nope.
There's no
judgment.
No judgment. It's just pure and raw, just being there. I mean, even if somebody showed up and they're like, today really fucking sucks and I'm not in the mood for conversation, I just needed to be in the room with my people, you'd be like, cool, we'll come and we'll kind of go, you all right? Can I get you anything? And if that's all you have to offer, totally understand.
Exactly. Yeah.
And that's amazing. I mean, you just don't find that anywhere
And
at all.
I was kind of shocked at the level of, or the deepening of my relationships with my sister. I won't really say my mom, because she was pretty, you know, she, like I said, she had dementia. So
Right.
there's not a whole lot of deep conversations that happen with somebody that has dementia. But my friendships, and just the people that I met in the program, there's, I lost a couple friends when I quit drinking, and they were drinking buddies, and that's pretty much all we did when we were together. And those relationships are very superficial, because while you may think, oh, you know, we have such great deep conversations, you know, when we drink together, it's not that great. It's not that deep, and you probably repeat yourself all the time. You know, it's just like I don't like being around drunk people anymore, because it's just, you know, like I don't like repeating myself to them. They ask me a question and I say an answer and they're just not present. They're looking around, and then they ask me the same question again. I'm like, well, you know, so you just don't have, as much as folks may think that they have deep connections, they really don't. And it's not until you can be your authentic, vulnerable self with your peeps that that things really, you know, change in your relationships. And I know, you know, like for a lot of people who are married, and one stops drinking and the other one doesn't, you know, there's a lot of times that doesn't end well.
Yeah.
And it's unfortunate, but it's because the person who's not drinking is growing.
Yeah.
And learning about themselves. And, you know, I think that's why we think we're the luckiest ones, because we have really delved into our states of mind and our baggage and unpacked it and, you know, repacked it. And it just gets us to a place that that you just don't get to if you don't do that kind of work. And so it's very, it's, to me, I can tell almost immediately if someone has done any kind of self-work now because
But it's like you have
conversations.
a bullshit meter, right? I mean,
Oh
you
yeah,
can just you sniff
sure.
it out so quick now.
Yeah,
Where used to we were part
yeah,
of it, right?
exactly. And I'm, you know, starting to delve into the dating world now again. And even though I want to, but I don't want to, it's just like, son of a bitch, I'm dating. I just don't. And I might just change my mind and not do it, but I think it's a healthy a healthy thing to do, to kind of get yourself out there and um but yeah, I mean there's like definitely can tell the bullshit meter.
Hmm.
So,
And
So what I was going to ask you about, I mean, now that you say you're trying to, maybe get back into the dating game, but when you had that long stint of like 4.5 years,
mhm,
you go to a party and then somebody offers you something, you just take it, right?
right.
Now that you're in another stint, you're over 2 years now. How are you handling social situations differently now than
Yeah.
maybe you did back then? What's different, or
Well,
even in the dating part of it, because we know how
yeah.
awkward
Well, I
that can
didn't
be
really
too.
date. I didn't date really when I was sober. I had one relationship, and it actually was the most toxic relationship that I've ever had when
Oh
I
wow,
was sober the last time. So
yeah,
I'm a little gun shy,
sure, sure.
but back then compared to now, I think I would go to a party and I was hyper aware of what people were drinking, how much they were drinking, where the alcohol was located,
Mhm.
you know. Now I still make a mental note of where the alcohol is, but I'm not obsessing about who's drinking what and that kind of thing. So, and when I go out, depending on what I'm doing and the vibe, I'll have a mocktail or I'll have a non-alcoholic beer or something like that. Like Taco Tuesday. What's Taco Tuesday without a beer, right? So I usually will have a non-alcoholic beer at, things like that. But I mean, now I guess, so much time has gone by. I was gone from Spokane for 6 years or almost 7 years. And coming back, I mean, my friends really don't drink that much. And so that's really a blessing
Yeah.
in that, we're all kind of old ladies now. I hate to say that.
that's the best phase.
Yeah,
God,
I know, right?
I want to be a fun old lady.
An old lesbian. No.
Yeah, I do. Listen, I will say it. I strive to just be a fun old lesbian one day. Okay, Kat, bring me into your circle. I am ready,
We're
willing, and
there. We're
able.
there. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Um, so, it's like we just don't, I mean, we'll go out and we'll go dancing every now and then and, have fun, but all of us mainly are just like, okay, it's 9 o'clock. It's time to go.
Yeah.
It's my bedtime, So, I mean, I start getting ready for bed at 8, sometimes even
Mm-hmm.
earlier. So it's like well, for example, a recent example, I went to a Christmas party and it was at a bar, like a bar, an annex to a bar. So it wasn't the main bar or dance place itself, but it was kind of an annex. And there were probably 40 or 50 people there. And I, it was great seeing everybody. I saw people I hadn't seen yet since I got back. And, there were a lot of bear hugs and, laughing and, hi, sorry, probably just like sound guy. Um, so, and that was great. I had a fun. I nursed a, non-alcoholic beer for like an hour and a half. And then I was just like, bleh,
Yeah.
And, but at like around 9 o'clock, like something shifts, it kind of, it gets louder. People start getting sloppy, stumbling over a chair or knocking shit over. And at that point, I just was like, I went to my closest peeps and I was like, I'm out,
See ya.
Farts, you know, love ya, bye. And just left, and nobody notices and nobody cares, you know, that I left. Um, so yeah, I think it's, you know, once you really know what you know about yourself and, find authenticity, you don't have any problem, you know, leaving when it's time to go. You know, it's just like, I don't have FOMO anymore. I don't care, you know. It's just, and I don't mean to make it sound like I don't give a shit about anything, but I just, protecting my own peace is like paramount to my journey. And yeah.
Yeah,
So
I'm right there with you because in my drinking days I had bad FOMO. I wanted to stay out with
yeah.
everybody all the
Yeah.
time. Now I have JOMO,
Yeah.
because I don't give a shit. You guys
Right.
can have whatever you want after 9 o'clock. I'm just like you. I have a bed routine that starts at about
Yeah.
9. I have wound down. I've journaled. I am ready. And Jess knows about 9 o'clock. This guy, I
Yeah.
don't care where we're at.
I
I
know.
will start nodding off because
Bedtime.
I'm ready to go. Get the hell
Seriously.
out of here.
I
And
know. I
I've
mean,
noticed too, like, it's because that happened with me as well when I started working on my mental health, right? It's
mhm.
sort of, it's natural. Like, it's not even oh, like you are protecting your peace, but it's not even like a conscious awareness. And I'll kind of loop back to your radical acceptance. It's because part of that journey, whether it be sobriety, mental health, because it's all under the same umbrella,
Mhm.
is a radical acceptance of who you are,
Mhm.
and you just naturally gravitate towards places where
Yeah.
you feel
Yeah.
safe.
Exactly.
And, you know, you no longer feel safe. And again, these are not like really even conscious thoughts. It's just, I
Mhm.
don't feel this is just not where I want to be. So I'm going to go home.
Right.
You
Right.
learn to set boundaries with yourself before you set them with other people. And I think
Mhm.
that there is also a radical acceptance of the separation, the natural separation that happens with you and certain people, certain environments. Again, it's not
Mhm.
something that's intentional. It just happens.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, he always used to kind of pick at me because he's like, do you ever want to leave the house? And of course I want to leave the house, but like I am a total homebody. I was that way when I was a kid. Like I wouldn't even spend the night at my neighbor's house. I wanted to be at home. Um, and I'm like, I love my home and I love my people. Like this is where I feel most Why? Why do I need to go out? Like I'll
Right.
mobile order groceries and just go pick them up. And I'm like, the grocery store's a petri dish for just like a
Yeah.
bad mood. You know what I mean? I walk in there in a great mood and I walk out and I'm pissed off. And I'm,
Exactly.
I'm a little joking here, but once he got sober, and you're still more of an extrovert than I am, you still need to get out of the house.
Yeah.
But I find that like totally fine just to stay home. Before it would be like, let's go do something. Let's go out and do something. And yeah, you want to go out and you want to drink, but you're also chasing something else that you're not aware
No,
of.
totally. Totally.
So like, it's great. I'm like, oh my
Yeah.
gosh, don't you love being a hermit with me? You
Yeah.
know, it's so wonderful. The bathroom is clean. There's food readily
Yeah.
available.
I have
Nobody
I have
can
my
tell me
own
what to
gym
do.
downstairs. Yeah.
And when
Mhm.
I get tired or if I get a headache for no reason, I just go to bed.
That's right.
Yeah.
It's fantastic. I
It
love it.
is. It is. And
Um,
you know, it's funny because my I don't know, Ryan, you know, do you remember when I had like a mohawk
Oh
and
yeah.
like
Yeah.
yeah, so like I had this whole look and it was really tied to those days of going out and you know, walking into a bar and just being like, okay, who's here? You know, and you just do
Mhm.
the
Oh yeah.
scan, you know, see who's catching your eye kind of thing and cruising, whatever. Really, you know, total 100% gay lifestyle. So, so then, you know, like once I started to really know myself, I was just like, I'm not comfortable attracting this much attention to myself anymore. You know, like I don't, I think I am an introvert really at heart. I mean, I can be an extroverted introvert, but going out, you know, for example, like I had described, and then coming home, it's like for 2 days, I'm like no contact with people because
Mhm.
I peopled myself out. And I just don't feel that way. I don't feel like that person anymore. So, it's why I'm kind of growing my hair out and, just being a more finding who I am authentically instead of that performative, got to get the look just right. And, for going out and, I was known for my hair and, so it's just kind of, it was an interesting process going through that for sure.
And it's like a mask that you wear too,
Rediscovering.
Yeah, I've been dyeing my hair blonde since I was 13 years old, right? I
Oh,
mean,
wow.
forever and ever and ever.
Uh-huh.
And when I started like therapy and really getting into my mental health stuff, the first thing I did was dyed my hair back to brown. And what you said resonates because I'm like, you reevaluate everything, when you really start doing that inner work, like true inner work, not just like a little bit, but you're like fully accepting of it. It's like, is this my favorite color? Is this my favorite food? Do I really like my hair like this? Do I even like this outfit? What about this TV show or this car or whatever? I mean, it's literally like everything you're having to go back to the drawing board. And you did the same thing, Ryan. Like your whole wardrobe has even changed. And obviously, like physically, you've changed just from working out, but even just like small little things. And, we'll go back and look at pictures of us before. And yeah, I mean, we've lost weight because we've gotten healthy, but it's more than that. It's like, oh my gosh, just like the overall vibe
the whole
and
person, everything
is like, it's like looking at two completely different people.
Yeah, totally.
It's wild.
It is.
I wish I would have seen you with a mohawk though. I'm not going to lie. I missed out on that one.
You did. It was, I think by the time we got together in Dallas, it was more like a mole hawk because I was
you're a woman in transition.
Going into the mullet stage now.
Well, I require a picture at some point.
Okay.
If that's not too much to ask. I will keep it to myself.
All right, Kat. So I'll get you out here on a couple things. First, we do have a lot. We get a lot of new people every week. What kind of advice would you give to a newcomer coming in 30, 60 days, kind of questioning their decision on, whether they should really lose the alcohol? What would be your advice for that person?
Well, I think my advice would be to just take it off the table. Like I did really early on. I had that never question the decision as my mantra. And I put it on post-it notes everywhere in the house. I had it in my car. I had it everywhere. And I think for me personally, I can't speak for other people, but it is a common theme that if you're trying to quit or moderate, it takes a lot of bandwidth in your brain to resist, the urge to drink, dealing with cravings. If you're moderating, deciding when your next drink is going to be, where it's going to be, what you're going to drink, all that kind of stuff. Which is what, that's addiction, because your brain is really in planning mode, because you get that dopamine hit before you actually take that first drink when they set it on the table. And so when I made the decision to just like, I'm just not going to drink anymore. I'm not a drinker anymore. And I just really was resolute in not just taking it off the table. So it wasn't even there, in my opinion. It was not an option. And once I did that, my brain just was like, oh, okay, like what can I work on now? And it just like, I gave my brain some time to just decompress and heal. And I didn't really do a lot of intensive brain work, that first year. I just really, I mean, I think it's, I'm looking over at my little shelter cat, and I think it's probably the same thing that they experience when they finally come home to a place that's not a shelter, is that they can just relax. And for the first week, or even more than that, they just sleep a lot, and that's what I did. I just slept so much. And, of course I was not having to work. I was taking care of my mom. So I didn't have a regular 9 to 5 job to show up at. So I was lucky in that way that I could give my body and brain the time to recover. But yeah, just, I think for me, meditation really helped.
Mm-hmm.
Meditation helped me to calm my mind. Breathing exercises helped me to calm my nervous system. And just, opening up that, bandwidth in my head was really, really important. And, and the other thing would be to make connections, make your connections, find your people, find your people, connect, even if it's just online, get on the Marco Polo groups, get on, a forum group, that kind of thing. I'm talking about my specific program, but if you are not in a program and you're sober curious, use the meetup apps. Use the meetup app and find people who like to do the same kind of things you do, like bike ride or hike or book clubs or whatever. And then there's also an app called the Phoenix app, and that is a great app for people who are have just quit drinking, or who have not drank in a long time, or who don't drink for other reasons, like religious reasons or whatever. And it's an activity app. So if that's active in your community, then, I would say seek those things out, because the more people you have around you that don't drink and who are on the same journey as you, it's really a game changer. Yeah. And meetings were again. Okay. So let's recap.
Go down
Never
the list.
question the decision, make connections, and go to meetings.
Yes.
Because the meetings were also a game changer for me too. And, Ryan, I see you in meetings all the time, and I'm there too. And I think people are usually surprised to see us kind of old timers, or people who have a lot of time still in the meetings. And for me, they went from being necessary to being desired. I like to go to meetings because I see people I know, I see new people, I can be of service, supporting others. And, it's like, I always say, it's like my daily soaps.
That's right. Because you never know what's going to come out of somebody's mouth.
You never know what's going to happen. And the people, and you start to care about the characters. And, there's some very, odd, quirky people. And there's really some, solid, wise people. And so I love the meetings. I really, I don't share that much anymore.
I do too. And it's funny, and I hear other people refer to us as like, OGs or whatever, because we have all this time. And I'm like, but do we really? I mean, to me, it's like, we're still newcomers until we're probably 5-10 years into this thing.
Yeah.
And even then,
because we're, and I don't want to speak for you, but I feel like, every week I'm still learning things about sobriety or how to, help myself into a certain situation or whatever. So, and it's funny, I get, on Fridays, the newcomers meetings, I really enjoy, because I also like to, and I do this every once in a while, look back in my journal, right? Of when I first started. I think I started journaling like 60 days in, but being able to hear somebody that's a week, 2 weeks, day one, nervous as hell, scared as shit, being vulnerable and saying, hey, I'm here. I want to change my life, or here's why I'm here. And then I think, wow, man, that was me. And I remember that. It really kind of takes you back. And then, you're kind of looking at yourself inward saying, man, I did put the fucking hard work in. I did do this. Here I am. This person's hoping to get there. And I want to encourage that person. Hey,
Yeah.
Don't worry where I'm at. You can get here.
Exactly.
Enjoy the fucking ride because it's amazing.
I mean, I remember, being so proud of myself. 30 days, 90 days or whatever. And now I don't know. I mean, I just kind of, I don't share that. I don't share my numbers that often in the meetings because I don't want people to be intimidated. But,
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I think that that's key to success and progress, though, is part of what differentiates people who don't stick to the program is it doesn't matter if you're 1 day in, 10 years in, you have to work the program as though today is your day one in some facet. I don't mean all of it, but it's because you're right. You get to a point where you want to show up because it is what single-handedly keeps you so happy and healthy and self-assured. And, in life, when you become complacent and feel like, okay, I've made it. Like, that's the thing too, is everybody's like, when does this, you brought this up, when does this end? When am I at the end? When you die, like, there is no end. Like, that's the whole point. We are constantly evolving and changing, and it's great to get on there and hear new things and learn new things. And hopefully, even when you're 20 years into it, you're still learning and growing. I mean, that is the key to life, is to being open to anything that can help you evolve and learn. And that is the common denominator I see with people who are sober in substance, in mind, just in life. Like, they are open to understanding that though I have been sober X amount of days, though I've been working on my mental health X amount of days, it is everyday work that no longer is a chore, it is a blessing. I am honored to be able to wake up and do this because I am my best friend. I value myself. I enjoy taking care of myself.
Yeah.
And I think that's super important too. I've seen that a lot with you, and I see it with everyone who comes on our podcasts and anyone in my life. Like, it's amazing. If you're going to invest in anything in your life, investing in yourself and your mental health is where it's at.
Yeah, for sure.
There's a guaranteed payoff.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Love it. And I always like to tell people, nobody ever regrets getting sober. I've yet to hear someone be like, I've been sober for 5 years and man, it was the worst decision I ever made.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, I know there's some people that are, that with long-term sobriety, who have, admitted, I miss it, but I wouldn't give up the life I have now for the life 100%. I had then.
And that's still coming from escapism. I miss it in the sense that, like, I miss going out and having, and we talked about this too, like, I'm going to say having fun. I'm using air quotes here because you also cannot ignore some of your best memories, some of the most precious things that have ever happened into your life, births and weddings and, celebrations and graduations and all these things are rooted in the moments when you were drunk or high or whatever it is. But that and the willingness to not want to use again, there are things that can coexist together. You can hold space for both of them. And that's also very difficult, right? We even deal with that, like, looking back, and it's like, man, that was a fun vacation. I mean, I hate that we were drunk the whole time, but it doesn't mean that we did not have fun.
Right.
And you get to a point, that's why we ask these ending questions, which we're about to get to, is because through all of the triggering subjects that we talk about and all of these, like, deep inner works and all of this stuff that is can be very overwhelming, you also have to understand that, like, if you cannot laugh and enjoy and talk about radical acceptance and be able to know that life is worth living and enjoying and thriving and evolving, then that's a whole other issue outside of sobriety. So also, like, laugh at yourself. We all do stupid shit sometimes. Even to this day, I do really dumb shit. And I'm like, why the hell did I do that? That was so stupid. Just don't be a repeat offender.
That's right.
Yeah, exactly.
So that being said, you got to have a good old drunk story for me, or a good old pee story from when you were drunk.
Oh man, I was wondering if you guys had we're still doing the pee story.
It can be
either
pee,
one. It
could be you, it could be someone else. We've opened it up a little to include more diversity.
Well, I didn't realize you had opened it up. So I hadn't really thought about my greatest drunk story, but, I do have a pretty good pee story, but it's, I'm back in Spokane, and I imagine, if I share this link on Facebook that some Spokane people are going to see this, but I don't care. So, I used to work for this nonprofit, and which will remain nameless. And every year we would have this big fundraiser. It was like a chocolate and wine fundraiser. And it was held out at the casino, and you'd buy tickets, so you'd get, buy 15 tickets so you could either drink, 15 tastes of wine, or you could, drink 5 tastes and 10 pieces of chocolate, so it was, for each ticket you got a bite
One or
or
the other,
a
right?
drink or a sip or, a tasting, but
Yeah.
they were good tastings, so, I was working for the nonprofit, so, but I was also participating in the event. And so I was already pretty tipsy, and, stayed to help clean up. And there were, the wine distributors, had half bottles and, whatever. So as we were cleaning up, we were, still, partying. And so of course, you could also purchase wine there, right? So I had purchased, 4 or 5 bottles. And so I had it in a box, and it came time to leave. And, it was quite a walk to my car, let's just say. And so I was walking to my car, and then I just kind of was like, oh shit. I, just went kind of go down, because you can't walk and,
Yeah.
hold it in. And so I just peed right in the parking lot between 2 cars, just took them down and just did it.
There you go.
Radical acceptance.
That radical acceptance.
That is going to stick in my head forever.
Acceptance. I got to pee now.
That's right. It's going.
Right.
Here we go.
It's like that.
Well, the whole time I was like, and shit, now I've got a 40-minute drive home too from the casino.
God.
There's not any way I'm going to make it home, And so I was just like,
and women peeing it's just, it's a messy job out there.
That's right.
It makes me think of that scene in Bridesmaids when she's like shitting in the street, except peeing's like,
yeah,
you're doing it in the street, right? And it's just like it's happening. It's
Yep,
happening.
It's happening.
It's happening. Right.
It was just pee, no number 2, thank God. It was that's probably so sorry.
Don't be. The visual I have in my head has made me bright and light.
It was just like a dressy fundraiser, so I was dressed up, not in a dress, but in nice slacks and whatnot. And
I wonder if anybody saw you. If they're like, who is that tailored woman just pissing on herself in the middle of the street? Like, I mean, if you're like in somewhere like New York or LA, you're like, oh, it's just a normal Friday night.
Normal Friday.
Well, I'm sure they have cameras in their parking lots. They probably saw this woman carrying this thing and going between 2 cars and then just disappearing for a minute.
It's
and
like,
they're like,
we've seen that.
And then up, and then on my way. Yeah.
Hey, you know what? What you do in between 2 cars in the middle of the night is your business.
Yeah. That's right. Dang it.
Well,
that
Kat,
was great.
Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Love to end on that note.
Oh, of course. Yeah.
That's the whole point of it, right?
Right.
Make it light, make it bright, make it gay.
That's right.
There you go.
I'm all about it.
That's right.
Thanks, Kat.
Love you, Kat.
We love you.
Love you too,
so
brother. And
we'll
thank you for having me on, and thank you for doing this. And you've been such an inspiration to so many people, and me included. So keep doing what you're doing.
He's
love
a good one.
Thank you, Kat.
He's a good one.
Love you.
So are you.
Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you. I'm just the supporting character. That's it. Love you.
All right, love you
Bye.
too.
See you soon. See ya.
Bye.
If you love the podcast, which I know you do, please like, subscribe,
and hit that notification bell to get
Boom.
notified every time we post.
That's right. Dropping them, baby.